Time now for the Nick Hart Show, our weekly chat with the head coach of the Gibson Southern Titans, Nick Hart. The show is presented by the Gibson Southern Football Boosters and brought to you by A&B Contracting, LLC, AgriGold, Best One Tire, Chips, SellMyTees.com, Cox Family Eye Care PC, Daylight Land Management, Du Bois County Garage Doors Incorporated, Duke Energy, Elite Insulation, Emerson Cattle Company, Fort Branch Dairy Queen, Foster Construction, Gerald and Trudy Bledsoe, Snap-on Tools, Grant Rydens, Hilliard Lyons, Ignite Heating and Air, in loving memory of Zach Bailey, in memory of Darwin and Eric Callis, Julia's School of Dance, Kissel Farms Incorporated, Eleanor Off-Road of Owensville, MyTech Systems, Pegram Concrete LLC, Princeton Auto Park, Pro Rehab, Progressive Health Rehabilitation and Orthopedic Associates, Reinbrecht Homes, Right to Bear Arms, Rogers Bit Service LLC, Sandy's Pizza, Scotty's Lawn Equipment, South Gibson Grain, Sin Energy Partners LLC, Trapping and Removal of Animal Pest, 10 Barge Seed, TYFL, Vertical Tile Incorporated, Hobb Range Hood Company, Ziliac Enterprises, Beatles Towing, First Bank of Princeton, Johnson Commercial Mowing, Make Your Mark, Mayflower Gardens and Gifts, Martin's Auto Service, Kathy Solman Photography, Scheller's Carriage Inn, United Fidelity Bank, and by Wabash Valley College. The Nick Hart Show, presented by the Gibson Southern Football Boosters, starts now on 89.1 The Bash.
To the Nick Hart Show, I am Bob Bowser, and joining me is head coach of the Gibson Southern Titans, Nick Hart. And coach, your Titans are now 4-1 overall and 3-0 in Pocket Athletic Conference play after defeating Princeton on Friday night 41-0. So let's take a look at the team and individual stats from the Battle of Gibson County. Starting off here, total offense for the Gibson Southern Titans was 455 yards, while Princeton had 173. Rushing yards, Gibson Southern had 29 carries for 189 yards, while Princeton had 32 for 71 yards. Passing yards was 266 for the Titans, while the Tigers had 102 yards. Looking at the turnovers, there was one turnover in the ball game, and that was by Princeton. So again, a nice job there by the ball club. No turnovers, and definitely won the battle on the field when it comes to the passing yards and the rushing yards.
Yeah, no turnovers. It was big, and getting one from them, was big too. It kind of helped that third quarter run. Getting the interception and keeping things rolling.
Now, one thing I'm looking at here also for team stats, penalties, 8 penalties for 100 yards for the Titans, while Princeton had 5 penalties for 40 yards. So not so much in the yards. I mean, that's a lot of yards and penalties, but at the same time, there were 8 penalties, and I know a few of them you're going to live with because they were playing hard, but yet at the same time, sometimes you got to play hard and smart all together.
Yeah, it seemed like about 5 of them came on that one drive there towards the end, but we got to do a little bit better job in the secondary, getting our hands off of guys. I think that's where the majority of ours came in was, defensive holding and pass interference and stuff. Not a lot of mental penalties, which is good. But yeah, we want to clean that up a little bit. And then another stat that I wasn't very happy with, our third down conversions, weren't very good. I think we were like 36% or something like that. There's a lot of things that go into that. We got to do a little bit better on job of staying on schedule. So third down is a little bit more obtainable. But we got to do. We spend a lot of time, working third down stuff, and we got to be a little bit better at it.
Well, and just for clarity, 37.5%. So that's pretty good on your part. But here, I'm going to give you one. Fourth down conversions, you were 1 for 1. So that's a positive, right?
Yeah, it was a big play too for a touchdown. On the fade ball to Andrew Smith. Great throw, great catch. And that was a big play. Got us from 17 to 24-0. So that was a really big play.
All right, so let's take a look at some of the individual stats on the evening for the Titans. Brady Allen was 16 for 33 for 266 yards passing and 4 touchdowns. So while the completion percentage was not good, a lot of balls were thrown away because there just weren't things there for him to see. He still ended up with 4 touchdowns on the game.
Yeah, I thought he played really well. I think we got to do a little bit better job of catching the ball to help that completion percentage. I know a couple of drops, that I recall. But you said it. I thought he did a really good job of, when there wasn't stuff there, throwing it away. And I think when you just look at completion percentage things, they were playing a lot of cover one and had us covered down. So, some of our stats on the completion percentage get inflated because you have the bubble screens and, all that type of stuff. And, that wasn't available on Friday. So, it was a little bit more down the field type of stuff because they were getting up into us. So, I thought he played very well.
All right, so let's take a look at some of the individual rushing stats. Ben Butler, 14 carries for 81 yards and a touchdown. Mitchell Spindler, good to see, number 13 back in the ballgame, had 6 carries for 64 yards. And while he only had 6 carries on the night, I felt he provided a lot of energy to the offense just by getting out there on the field.
Yeah, that first drive in, he hit a big counter, ended up getting caught at the 10. And, if he was completely healthy, I don't know if he gets caught. But he came in, did a great job. We had him on a pitch count. And, we just he was cleared to go and everything. And, we just wanted to get him out there and kind of get him back in the flow and get him through the game healthy and get him, some live, game speed reps, going into this week.
All right, and of course, Seth DeLong had 2 carries for 34 yards. Owen Bryant, Mr. Instant Energy on the field there in the second half, 2 carries for 17 yards. Tucker Bowes had 2 carries for 3 yards. Brady Allen had 1 carry for a negative 4 yards. Looking at the receiving stats, Adam May leading the way here with 4 receptions for 94 yards, a breakout game for Adam May.
Yeah, Adam played great. And made, obviously 4 catches, one that sticks out to me. Andy blocked it. He's a great blocking wide receiver. He did a great job of that all night too. But, play that sticks out to me. That was a big one. We had trips left and we're working a double move to the one receiver side. And it wasn't there, and protection broke down a little bit, and Brady, scrambled out, and Adam put on the brakes and redirected and ran scramble drill, and Brady found him, and it was a big gain down there, sideline. That was a big play, when we needed one. So, Adam does a great job, and it was great to see him have a great ball game.
Well, and of course, Andrew Smith had 2 receptions for 54 yards and a touchdown. Seth DeLong had 2 receptions for 46 yards. Dawson Witt had 4 receptions for 41 yards and 2 touchdowns. Ben Butler had 4 receptions for 31 yards and a touchdown. So again, there's 5 receivers here. The ball gets spread around to different guys, and the freshman getting the job done there.
Yeah, he did a great job of knowing who to go to, and our receivers did a good job of getting open and beating some of that man-to-man coverage.
Let's go over to the defensive side now statistically and talk about a breakout night. Colton Stefanich in on 10 tackles, 9 solo, 1 assist, and had 2 passes broken up. Caleb Sellers was in on 10 tackles as well. He had 6 solo, 4 assists, and 2 tackles for loss. Andrew Smith was in on 8 tackles. He had 6 solo, 2 assists, and a tackle for loss. Jacob Fireline had 8 tackles, 5 solo, 3 assists. Lucas Ploss was in on 7 tackles, 5 solo, 2 assists, had a tackle for loss and a sack. Max Beatles was in on 6 tackles, 3 solo, and 3 assists. So again, a lot of hats to the football. But Jacob Fireline had a good ball game on this night. Stefanich definitely had a great football game. And the guy that I always look for right now on defense is Lucas Ploss. Is he going to step up and make the big play? I was looking for him to make some sacks the other night.
Yeah, he did a great job. And, another big play he had, it kind of goes under the special teams category, but blocking their field goal on that first drive was a huge play for us, kind of momentum-wise. But, all those guys, really did a great job. Colton did a great job of running the alley for us out of a strong safety position all night. Caleb Sellers played well. You mentioned Fireline. All those guys I thought played very well on Friday night.
All right, so let's take a quick break here, and when we come back, we will get your overall thoughts from Game 5 concerning the offense, defense, and special teams. But right now, we need to thank the folks that make the Nick Hart Show possible on 89.1 The Bash.
The Nick Hart Show is brought to you by Sin Energy Partners, LLC, trapping and removal of animal pests, 10 Barge Seed, TYFL, Vertical Tile Incorporated, Hobb Range Hood Company, Ziliak Enterprises, Beatles Towing, First Bank of Princeton, Johnson Commercial Mowing, Make Your Mark, Mayflower Gardens and Gifts, Martin's Auto Service, Kathy Salmon Photography, Scheller's Carriage Inn, and by United Fidelity Bank.
Thank you for listening to 89.1 The Bash and the Nick Hart Show. All right, Coach, let's start with your thoughts. First of all, on offense, then we'll get to the defensive special teams. But I want to envelop this around the fact that, on Friday night, from my vantage point, I was kind of sitting there thinking, man, I want to see a little bit of that pizzazz. And when Mitchell Spindler came in, it's like things just really picked up for both sides of the football. When you're talking about your offense and overall and your defense, talk a little bit about the effort and energy that the kids bring to that game Friday night.
I thought it was very, very good. Offensively, we chased the ball. I thought our tempo was phenomenal. I thought we really wore them down in the second half. Defensively, we did a great job of getting hats to the football the entire night. I thought our energy and effort was very good across the board. But offensively, I thought we executed pretty well. We stalled out on a couple drives there in the first half. We got way behind the chains on the offensive pass interference call. And then, we got around midfield a couple times and, missed a receiver, had a bad snap, a couple things where we kind of stalled out. I think a lot of that has to do, I think Princeton's very solid on defense, and their front four is really, really good. And, I thought our running game opened up a lot more in the second half because we had kind of worn those guys down. The Dove kid and the Hardeman kid were going both ways, and I thought they were pretty gassed. But overall, I thought we did a great job on offense. I'd like to, finish some drives more. We talked about, third downs, to kind of sustain drives and just, we were a lot more consistent this week than we were the week before, but, continuing to be more consistent on the offensive side of the ball so we can continue to put together drives is something that we are continuing to work on.
Well, and sometimes, too, Jason and I were talking about it in the broadcast, sometimes when you have, for example, you have an offensive starter out, a defensive starter out, or multiple starters out on the sidelines for different reasons, sometimes things just maybe are not clicking because everybody's thinking about what is my job to do. So maybe some of that was missing is just waiting for this unit to get whole again, and hopefully we're ready to get whole here coming up in week 6.
Yeah, we hope so. I think we got a good chance to go in really healthy on Friday. It's obviously early, and we'll see how practice goes. But we were missing some key guys on both sides of the ball, and that does affect you. But I was proud of our guys that stepped into those roles. I thought that they stepped in and did a great job. And it's kind of a worn out mantra in football. But the next man up philosophy, I thought those guys stepped in and did a great job.
How about on the special team side of things? Again, Bryce Williams steps in, does the punting. I know we don't like to talk much about punting on here, but at the same time, he did a great job in that role. Also, his extra points and his field goals, beautiful kicks, just absolutely beautiful kicks.
Yeah, I thought our special teams was really solid. Blocking the field goal was big. We had a big punt return. And we won't talk about Andrew getting tackled by the punter, but we had a big punt return that helped flip the field. I think that was right before half. Kickoff coverage was really solid. They have some really good returners. Our coverage was solid all night. So I was very pleased with the way our special teams played.
All right, Coach, we need to thank some of the supporters of the Nick Hart Show, and when we come back, we will take a look around the Pocket Athletic Conference to wrap up Week 5 of the 2018 season and get prepared for Week number 6 as you are listening to the Nick Hart Show on 89.1 The Bash.
The Nick Hart Show is brought to you by South Gibson Grain, Scotty's Lawn Equipment, Sandy's Pizza, Rogers Bit Service LLC, Right to Bear Arms, Reinbrecht Homes, Progressive Health Rehabilitation and Orthopedic Associates, Pro Rehab, Princeton Auto Park, Pegram Concrete LLC, MyTech Systems, in loving memory of Zach Bailey, in memory of Darwin and Eric Callis, L&R Off-Road of Owensville, Kissel Farms Incorporated, and by Julia's School of Dance.
Welcome back to the Nick Hart Show on 89.1 The Bash. I am Bob Bowser, and joining me is head coach of the Titans, Nick Hart. So, all right, Coach, let's take a look first at the Pocket Athletic Conference scores from this past Friday night. Forest Park defeated Pike Central 41-17. How about Forest Park?
Yeah, it's a great win for them, and maybe not surprised that they got the win, but maybe at the
41 points.
It's a spread a little bit, and then putting up 41 points. They, had some trouble scoring here recently, but a great win for them. Gets them a win on the season and the conference.
Heritage Hills, our opponent coming up this week, defeats North Posey 66-7.
Yeah, and I know we're going to talk a lot more about them, but they're playing, really, really, really good football right now.
Southridge 55, the double nickel. South Spencer 21.
Yeah, Southridge, kind of getting things rolling here as they head to the middle part of the season. I know they had a lot of injuries early, so I think maybe they're getting healthy and really starting to play some good football.
And then Tell City getting that win out of conference, pitching a shutout 22-0 over Springs Valley.
Yeah, don't know a darn thing about Springs Valley, but great win for Tell City and for the conference.
So taking a look at the conference standings, Heritage Hills is at the top as they are 3-0 in conference play, 5-0 overall. Your Titans are right behind them, 3-0 in the conference, 4-1 overall, as is Southridge at 3-0 and 4-1. Over the next few weeks, that's going to change. Tell City will be 1-2 and 2-3 overall. Forest Park is 1-2, 1-4 overall. Pike Central is 1-2, 1-4 overall. North Posey is 1-3, 1-4 overall, and South Spencer is the only team left to still get a W. They are 0-4 in the conference and 0-5 overall. So taking a look now to this Friday night coming up, entire conference slate here for the PAC. It'll be Southridge at Tell City for a 6:30 p.m. ball game.
Yeah, I think Tell City's coming off a big win. Southridge, is just really rounding into Southridge form and playing really good football.
And then Pike Central will be at South Spencer. This should be a very, very interesting ball game. It'll be number 2 on the card this week because we'll talk about number 1 later.
Yeah, it should be a really good game. Pike Central got a win against Tell City earlier in the year, and South Spencer, still looking for win number 1.
And then North Posey will be at Forest Park for a 6:30 p.m. ball game.
Yeah, Forest Park gets a big win last week, and North Posey just got done, running through a really tough part of the schedule with, us and then Southridge and then Heritage Hills. So hopefully, they came out of that healthy and can play well on Friday.
All right, Coach. So as we look around at things, right now we need to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll get the listeners ready for Friday night as your team prepares to take on Heritage Hills. But first, let's thank some of the underwriters of the Nick Hart Show on 89.1 The Bash.
The Nick Hart Show is brought to you by Ignite Heating and Air, Hilliard Lyons, Snap-on Tools Grant Bridens, Gerald and Trudy Bledsoe, Foster Construction, Fort Branch Dairy Queen, Emerson Cattle Company, Elite Insulation, Duke Energy, Du Bois County Garage Doors Incorporated, Daylight Land Management, Cox Family Eye Care PC, Chips, SellMyTees.com, Best One Tire, AgriGold, and by A&B Contracting LLC.
Welcome back to the Nick Hart Show right here on 89.1 The Bash, or you may be using the free app to access the show on your cell phone. So, Coach, Week 6, your Titans will be taking on the Patriots of Heritage Hills at home at Jack Jewell Memorial Field. And we will have all the action live on 89.1 The Bash with pregame at 6:45 p.m. The Patriots will enter this contest with a record of 5-0 overall, 3-0 in conference play. What do you expect to see from Heritage Hills on the offensive side?
Well, they're very good. Very well coached on the offensive side. They are running flexible on offense. If you ever seen Navy play, Georgia Tech, they're running that style of offense, kind of the double wing, two wide receiver offense with all kinds of options out of it, running midline, veer, the Navy toss, misdirection power, all the staples of the flexible offense. They get back in their double tight wishbone every once in a while, but I think that flex bone is their bread and butter. Very difficult to defend. They have a very athletic quarterback, so when he pulls it on the option, he's made a lot of big plays off of pulling it. They're very good up front. And so, when you play an option offense, it's very difficult on your defense because you have to be so disciplined. Who's got the fullback, who's got the quarterback, how are you covering the Navy toss, how are you covering the misdirection power, a lot of things, to do, and it's doable. But if one guy doesn't do their job, you're going to get hurt. It's going to take a total team effort, and we're going to have to be very disciplined on the defensive side. And to be honest, last week we played very well, but that first drive, when Princeton kind of got down there on us, we blew so many coverages. Our eyes weren't where they were supposed to be. We were very undisciplined on that first drive, and credit to Princeton, they made plays, but we allowed them to make some very easy plays because we weren't doing what we were supposed to do. That got fixed and a lot better as the game wore on. But if we do that on Friday night, we're going to be in a world of hurt. So you have to be very, very disciplined against that flexible offense. So we're going to have a great week of practice in preparation for it.
Well, and one thing with an offense of that style, obviously the battle in the trenches is going to be huge. And how far deep in the backfield can your defensive line move the line of scrimmage? Because if your defensive line is playing in the backfield, that makes all of the potential reads and handoffs, it just makes things not so good for the offense.
Yeah, it can really clutter it up, and they're really good up front. So, it's going to be difficult to make a dent. But you're 100% right. That's the number one way to kill any offense. But I think especially an option attack, if you can get some penetration and cause a dent and make that mesh bubble, you have a lot better chance to get more hats to the football and make plays.
So what have you seen from their passing game?
They're very effective. They don't throw the ball a whole lot, and when they do, it's typically for a shot. They'll lull you to sleep, with midline and veer, and then a misdirection power, and it seems like they've run it 100 times in a row, and then they go play action off of it. And they've been really solid in their play action game. So again, you add in how good they are with their option stuff, and then add into the fact that they've been very good in the play action game. It makes it that much more difficult to defend.
So again, when you're talking assignment football, it's not just about who has the fullback, the quarterback, and the tailback on the option. It's about who's playing either in zone coverage or in man coverage against the double tights or even the wingbacks, as they can go out for pass plays just as easy. So guys have to read their keys and stay with their keys until in the secondary until it gets across the line of scrimmage.
Absolutely, 100%. And they definitely throw it efficiently enough that if you don't do that, they're going to hit you for some really big plays.
Well, let's go over now to the defensive side for Heritage Hills. How do you see them stopping your offense or attempting to?
They've been really good on defense this year. That's always kind of been their staple. They're a three-man front. They're going to run a lot of cover three. They'll mix in cover two, give you a variety of looks out of that. But I think the number one thing about playing Heritage Hills is their defense is going to play fast and they're going to play physical. Their scheme has changed some over the years, but that part has never changed. They're very well coached. One of the best coached defensive teams that I've ever gone up against year in, year out. we know how well they're coached. They're very assignment oriented. So when it comes down to that, when you know all that stuff, you got to out execute them or outdo them, one of the two. And hopefully we can do a little bit of both of that. But we've got to. I think what's important for us is we kind of talked about in the last game. We got to execute on third down and stay ahead of the chains. Because I think one thing that's going to come down a little bit on Friday night is they play quite a few guys both ways, and they want to slow the game down and have there be a low number of plays for each team on both sides. And, we obviously want the opposite of that. I think whichever offense can put together drives and control the tempo of the game is going to put or look at it the other way, whichever defense can get stops and let their offense control the tempo of the game. I think that team is going to be set up for more success on Friday night.
All right, so let's go to special teams now. Kicking game, return game, punt game. How are things looking from special teams from what you've seen?
Very, very good. The quarterback, the Sigler kid, who is an exceptional athlete, and we talked about the plays he makes in the running game out of their option offense. He's one of their returners. He's busted some big punt returns. Their kicker is very good. I believe, might be misspeaking, but I believe he was all-conference kicker last year. Has been very solid on all of his extra points and field goals. He'll put the ball in the end zone, or they'll kind of do a cross-high kick and let their coverage team go down and get it. So, again, like you expect, and again, I haven't seen them punt very much because they're scoring 60 points a game, it seems like. So, which – on a different note, it's very impressive out of a flex bone option offense to be putting up the points that they are, because that's more of a chunk it as you go, but they're getting big chunks of plays or big chunks on plays. So we haven't seen them punt a whole lot, but man, just like everything, they're very solid because they're so well coached in that program, and I think this is great. We're gonna have two ranked teams going at it. A team we have a lot of respect for because they do things the right way and just what their program's done forever, and they're so well coached. These are the games that are fun because I think both teams will, one, learn a lot about themselves on Friday night, and two, make each other better. As we head into, we're in the middle part of the season now, getting ready to head into the last third of the season. These type of games as a coach is what you really look forward to.
All right, Coach. Well, anything else you would like to add to the show this week?
Just really excited for Friday. Should be a great atmosphere, and hopefully we can get a lot of Titan fans out there to help support us.
All right, well, that's all the time we have for today's show. So, Coach Hart, good luck Friday night. We'll see you after the game on the post-game show, and best of luck to the players. We would like to thank all of you for joining us here on 89.1 The Bash for the Nick Hart Show, and be sure to catch us each week at 7 p.m. on Tuesday night for your look inside Gibson Southern Titans football. Before we sign off, though, we would like to thank all of the supporters of the Nick Hart Show on 89.1 The Bash.
The Nick Hart Show is a special sports presentation of 89.1 The Bash, made possible by the Gibson Southern Football Boosters and these sponsors: Ziliak Enterprises, Hobb Range Hood Company, Vertical Tile Incorporated, TYFL, 10 Barge Steve, Trapping and Removal of Animal Pest, Sin Energy Partners LLC, South Gibson Grain, Scotty's Lawn Equipment, Sandy's Pizza, Rogers Bit Service LLC, Right to Bear Arms, Rhinebrecht Homes, Progressive Health Rehabilitation and Orthopedic Associates, Pro Rehab, Princeton Auto Park, Pegram Concrete LLC, MyTech Systems, L&R Off-Road of Owensville, Kissel Farms Incorporated, Julia's School of Dance, in memory of Darwin and Eric Callis, in loving memory of Zach Bailey, Ignite Heating and Air, Hilliard Lyons, Snap-on Tools, Grant Rydens, Gerald and Trudy Bledsoe, Foster Construction, Fort Branch Dairy Queen, Emerson Cattle Company, Elite Insulation, Duke Energy, Du Bois County Garage Doors Incorporated, Daylight Land Management, Cox Family Eye Care PC, Chips, SellMyTrees.com, Best One Tire, Agrigold, A&B Contracting LLC, United Fidelity Bank, Scheller's Carriage Inn, Kathy Solomon Photography, Martin's Auto Service, Mayflower Gardens and Gifts, Make Your Mark, Johnson Commercial Mowing, First Bank of Princeton, Beatles Towing, and by Wabash Valley College. The Gibson Southern Titans play here all season long on 89.1 The Bash.